This is the On the Mark podcast, bringing you facts, opinions, and personal experiences from the outdoor industry.
I got the opportunity to shoot an AR-15. That was one of the funnest experiences that I've had.
It's pretty exciting. It's a big rush.
Presented by Sitemark, an industry leader in optics, bore sights, night vision, and more. Make your mark. Welcome back to the On the Mark podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Hamilton. Today in the studio, I've got Kaitlyn Lose.
Hello.
And that's not the way I want to enter this. Hold on. I told you earlier how I was going to do it. Let's do it again.
You're good.
Welcome back to the On the Mark podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Hamilton. She's a dental hygienist. She's a model. She's a social media influencer. She's an outdoor enthusiast. She's a hog slayer. She's Kaitlyn Lose. I got her here in the studio.
Hello.
Here she is.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Good.
Very well.
I'm glad that you were able to come in today. One of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about was just you and how you got to where you are. I mean, all the things that you do, from being a dental hygienist to very active in the outdoor lifestyle, repping all these brands that you represent. How do you juggle all that? But before that, how did you even get started? What started all of this?
Okay, sure. That's a little bit of a story. I will give that to you. A little background. I'm from Texas. My grandfather bought a ranch back after the war, and so I grew up taking my horse out there riding. So I've hunted since I was a little girl. I was the only one that would go out there, dad, brother, uncles. So I just found myself always looking for things to do even outside of hunting season. So I would take my horse out there. I really enjoy just being outside, and for me it's a big reset, especially from working in an office all day long.
Sure.
So I'd say I met James Sellers about maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He had seen a photograph of me shooting my bow off my horse standing up and had called me in for an interview. I talked to some people, and then the next thing I know, I've been repping brands from Sitemark for quite some time, and so that really kind of put my foot in the outdoor industry on a social platform, so to speak. I'd never had any social media up until that point.
For those of you who don't know, James Sellers is the owner of Sitemark Corporation, which owns Sitemark, which if you've seen Kaitlyn and you follow her on any of her social platforms, she actually does quite a bit with Sitemark. So that gave us a little bit of a hint into how you got going with that. But let's jump back to the more interesting part, which is you were shooting a bow off your horse.
I was, yes.
What
would make somebody think to do something like that?
Yeah.
One, I just look for adventure in everything.
Yeah.
I was breaking my horse. I have had him since he was about 14 months old,
Sure.
and just kind of got a wild idea, thinking maybe I can hunt off him one day.
Yeah.
And so I started with the bow, shot it off the ground, shot it while I was seated in the saddle, and then he was just so chill. I was like, you know what? I think I can actually stand up and shoot off of him.
Wait, you were standing
I was
up when you shot off of him?
standing up, yes.
Oh my
yes.
God.
A target, it was way off in front of us, so
Yeah.
obviously he wasn't in his headspace or anything.
And he was in a dead sprint.
Oh, well, he was just standing.
No.
Now, the dead sprint is when I actually shot the hog with a pistol. So, yeah, that story came a little bit later.
So it has happened.
It has happened, yes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Well, and James is known for seeing, unique things and trying to bring them in. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that he was able to make that connection with you and actually, bring you in and, help out Sitemark and help you out in the same, hand in hand type thing. But how did so we kind of talked briefly about you being a dental hygienist. At what point in time did you decide to go with the dental route of things?
I'd always wanted to do something dental. Pre-dental was, when I played volleyball in college, that was my route. And the college I went to at the time didn't have a dental hygiene program. I don't know if they do. They probably don't. But so I ended up having to transfer. And my thought was, well, I could be an equine vet, or I could do orthodontics. And I was like, well, that's, a lot of school. Didn't want to go along that route. But then the hygienist thing my mom had suggested one day, and it's great. I work 4 days a week.
Okay.
Every week I, get good vacation. It's good pay. So that has really allowed me to be able to support myself. I have my own place, and I can, take myself on vacations or buy extra things that I want. And of course, that's funded all back into the outdoor industry, whether it's horse stuff, it's guns,
INDEPENDE. However that song goes. Independent, yeah.
Probably sometimes too much, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well, no, it's definitely not a bad thing. And people sometimes underestimate how much it actually takes financially to immerse yourself in the outdoors industry.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the products and a lot of the firearms and just the opportunities that people are able to do as far as hunting and stuff like that goes, a lot of times that comes with a pretty big financial strain.
Right.
Which is why people are really enthusiastic about doing it. But then when they start trying to, they're kind of like, oh, I'll get 1 or 2 hunts under my belt, and then, it kind of dies off. So.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to, going that route. And I don't know, this might be too much information, but I run all of my extra outdoor stuff through a separate business account. So I can keep everything separate, kind of make sure it funds itself. And that way I have more of a platform to expand in the future, maybe to do my own brand of something.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that would be cool.
It's just a different way of looking at things and keeping it straight. So, with influencing / ambassador type stuff, I guess I would say more ambassador, since I've been with the company so long. And,
sure.
The backstory being, a part-time employee and then kind of going out on my own doing contract stuff. But then I still feel like I'm part of the family here.
Right, yeah.
So that's been really, really helpful for me. And, being able to share that and talk to other people outside of the office and being able to float around a little bit more. There's a lot more social aspects to it. I do a lot more, trade shows, events.
Sure.
I'm able to have a lot more flexibility that way, but then still kind of be in the loop, which has been huge for me.
So what are some of the brands that you currently work with?
Oh, well, of course, we've got Sitemark, Pulsar, Kofi Jaeger, kind of all the in-house type
Sure.
stuff. I just recently did a really cool project with Bianchi Leather.
Cool.
Holsters.
Yeah.
And so Kodak, I think, is the star of that one. The people up there are so sweet, but they liked my persona of, being the dental hygienist.
Yeah.
You've got a full-time job, and then the horse thing, being the hog hunter
Right.
at night, and I carry a pistol with me every time I ride.
Yeah.
And it just fit perfectly. So
Right.
there's some more things I can't really say quite yet about that will be released. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
I'm a U.S. agent for Aces Outfitters out of Spain and South Africa.
Okay.
I've hunted
I didn't know that one.
internationally. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
In Spain, I absolutely love traveling and food and culture and anything that really just gets me outdoors. But it has a swing to being able to learn more.
Sure.
And an insight to somebody else's
Are you still messing around with suppressors at all?
I do some here and there.
Some here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, so you've already named. You've named over 8 to 10 business companies right there, whether they're
Right.
products or brands or entities of some type.
Right, and those are probably more so the long-standing ones. And they're with contract stuff, things kind of come and go. You can either do it based on a project, you can do it more of like a long-term, yearly type thing. So I have to look at it as, what's going to be most beneficial for the company as well as myself. How am I going to get them more exposure time-wise? But then also, being able to kind of, like you said earlier, juggle all those different hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can be kind of challenging.
Well, and the facts are that social media influencing is becoming a huge, it's a huge trend right now. Everybody seems to want to try and get involved in that.
Right.
But you look at yourself and somebody who has a full-time job, 4 days a week as a dental hygienist, you have a whole handful of brands that you're trying to juggle. How do you make time? How do you find time to do all of this stuff? Like if there's somebody watching this right now or listening to this, and their goal is to become a social media influencer of some type for some brand,
Right.
what would your advice be to that person?
For me, I've lived my life a lot based on what I know for sure that I want, and
Yeah.
a lot of flying by the seat of my pants, so to speak. I very much look at everything as an opportunity. So when I look at partnering with a company or a brand, you have to evaluate what are they asking for, what is going to be the return for yourself,
Right.
as well as, the company too. So, sometimes it's easier to do like a monthly stipend, or you do it by project, so you get a certain amount plus product, or how that really works. But I, for myself, and the way that I treat my patients, friends and family, and just people in general, also business transactions, I like to see myself as more of a long-standing, you kind of get to know the people as family. Like you have to have that dependable, trustworthy.
Sure.
It's not just, well, let me just post this for a free t-shirt type deal. And there's not anything against that, but for me personally, I'm all in. Like, I want to make sure that if they get, text me or give me a phone call, they know that I'll be there regardless.
Right.
And so my perspective on that can be a little bit different. Some people are more used to just doing projects as they are
Sure.
and moving on to the next thing. And I invest myself so much in the outdoors that I want my persona to be something, and it's too challenging to pick up things here and there and to stick with one thing.
Sure.
Like, you have to create value, you have to create legitimacy.
Yeah.
And I think floating around too much can make that not as feasible or not what you want.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. One of the big things that I learned about you early on when I started working for Sitemark, and I was pleasantly surprised because it happens more often than people realize, but you're not a gun bunny.
That is correct.
The gun bunnies are these women who actually don't have anything to do with the industry, and they dress, half nude and hold a firearm.
Right.
And they get their likes and views that way. And some brands pick that up and go with it. You are a actual outdoors enthusiast who actually uses the products and goes hunting, doesn't have to rely on that crutch. So it was awesome to see, you be able to build up that way while maintaining a full-time job, doing everything, I'll say ethically, with the full knowledge of everything that goes in behind each one of these brands. The time that it must take you to develop all of that. I'm not organized to even kind of do any of that.
Well, that's probably a little of the OCD of the hygienist and me being super organized.
Yeah.
So that's really helped. But go jumping back to your comment on the gun bunny thing. People think.
Call him out. Who's the gun bunny?
I say no negative things.
Okay, all right.
No, but being scantily clothed and of that nature, I just want to say thanks to my parents for raising me.
Yeah.
At the time I thought maybe they were really strict, but now I look back and I'm like, man, I really,
Sure.
I came.
Those
up
are the
pretty
type
well,
of values
so.
I've been trying to push off on Brandon back here, who's running some of the video equipment.
That's pretty funny. But
Because we've been having some issues with him as far as that aspect goes.
Brandon?
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
He's the wild one around here. But no, you got to think about who your audience is as well too. If I don't have any children yet, at some point I don't want them to look back and think, that's.
Are you single?
No.
Ooh.
I'm not single.
Tough.
But I do
Because
not
I've
have a
been
ring
trying
on
to
my
hook
finger.
somebody up. I've been trying to hook somebody up on the show. I got a lot of eligible bachelors and bachelorettes listening to this, and I've been waiting for somebody, but so far everybody's been taken. So
Taken.
earlier you mentioned Kodak,
Yes.
but we hadn't really discussed Kodak much yet. Tell me about Kodak, and is he your first horse?
No, gosh, my first horse actually was a miniature horse, so he was older than me. My
Did
parents.
you stand on the miniature horse as well?
I'm sure I did. Just riding around like a little crazy thing, bareback. That's how I grew up riding.
Sure,
It was basically on a miniature horse. She passed away, not this November. It's been maybe 2 years. She was
Yeah.
36.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up riding my whole life, so that's like nothing for me.
Yeah.
I had a big horse who passed when he was 30, when I was in hygiene school, and then I got Kodak. My mom actually, for Mother's Day, surprised my brother, my dad, and I with a big gift, and
Yeah.
Kodak was mine because she loved us all so much.
No, what
So-
type of horse is Kodak?
He is a leopard Appaloosa, and he's
leopard-
actually quite big for his breed. So
Oh,
the breed
okay.
typically is a little bit smaller. They're more like front end kind of heavy, and obviously, back in the day they were more, Native Americans rode them, but they originally, I believe, came from Spain.
Yeah.
So their stature is heavy in the front. They can climb cliffs. Their feet are very hardy. They're not as delicate. They're bigger boned.
Yeah.
But they're not usually as tall as Kodak. So he's about 16 hands.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he just turned 10 in March.
For those of you who don't know, hands is how you measure how tall a horse is.
Correct, at the withers, like
Yeah.
where the saddle goes.
Yeah.
So
Literally take your hands and find a horse that's standing and count them up, and that's how. I'm not sure if that's how
I
you
believe
do it.
it's like this.
It's like that.
I think so.
Okay.
My hand is 4 inches.
So I've witnessed myself from following your social. You shoot off of Kodak firearms quite a bit.
I do.
So what's the process to getting a horse comfortable with that? Obviously, I mean, they used to do it back in the day, but more modern times, not that many people do that anymore.
Right.
What's the process to training a horse to, not freak out every time you shoot a loud firearm off his back.
Well, they're gonna move quickly to a certain extent. How much they trust you is another picture. Like, I guess an example I can give. You really need to start with you first, because if you're not comfortable, number one,
they can feel it.
They can feel it.
Yeah.
They can sense your nerves. They're very, very intelligent animals, but also some horses are just not meant to be used for that. Yeah. And so that's something you really have to pay attention to as well.
How do you know though?
I think just having
can you test them out before you buy them?
You can, but I don't believe that.
Shoot a firearm off by his ear and see how he reacts before they know. They won't let you do that.
I think one thing I cherish with him is the bond that we have. It is so deep, and I mean, he knows me when I walk out there. Yeah. He knows what I'm asking. And when I shoot off of him, he actually, to me, is safer than when I'm on the ground, because it's almost like he knows he has to take care of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say definitely start with yourself first. Be realistic. Know your riding abilities.
Sure.
Because if you can't hang with that, the horse can freak out about anything. And there's still things that, I make sure I pay attention to as well.
Right.
Because they're just animals.
Right.
They're going to still do what they want to do. But
sure.
As far as shooting off of them, getting him used to something that's not quite as loud and working up to an unsuppressed.
Yeah.
Like, so I shoot unsuppressed and suppressed and, both. I mean, it's just different stuff. A lot of desensitization. I spend a lot of time trailering him places, exposing him to different environments, or, like my neighbor has a giant, I don't know, ball that she blows up that the horses can kick and get used to. And so things that are unnatural, anything like that, really helps them to get the confidence within themselves to be able to trust you more when there's something they're not sure of.
Well, Kodak definitely trusts you.
Yes.
To what extent, I don't know, but it's a lot more than our horse trusts my mother on the farm. And don't ask me a lot of technical questions about the horse because I just don't know. But I will tell you that we did a photo shoot here recently where you brought Kodak out to the building. We went out behind Sitemark here. There's a little creek. We took a lot of photos and some videos, and it was an awesome day. But towards the end of the day, you were like, come on, Kodak, let's go jump in this creek. And you just walked him straight into the creek, like up to his chest.
Oh, yeah. And he swims, too. And he'll full out swim.
He was just like, yeah, I do this all the time. And, like, it was just perfect, no issues. 2 weeks ago, my mother, who rides her horse frequently, decided she was going to try and take her horse across the Brazos River. And that horse, like, took back twice. When she got to the bank, he, like, backed up twice. And she was like, no, come on, you're going. And tried to force him. She was very comfortable. But he just said, nope, reared up, and then fell into a ditch. And they both fell over on their backs.
Right. And that is probably the most dangerous thing with a horse.
She almost got Yellowstoned. Did you watch Yellowstone?
I should.
You should. You should. It's awesome.
Yet. I've heard a lot of really good
things
about
Yellowstone, it's a little different scenario, but in Yellowstone, a horsefly bites a horse on the butt. It rears up, throws the rider off, and they get a T-post through the chest.
Yeah, that's the stuff you have to be real careful for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie. But my mom, rolling around in this ditch on her back, she learned a hard lesson, which is you got to make sure the horse trusts you, and you trust the horse just as much.
Right, and be able to kind of pick up on their body language before things happen. Like it's almost like I have this an avatar connection to it, if you will.
Yeah, okay. I want to tell a little bit of a story about one of the first times I met you. I started working at Sitemark, and I think it was either Texas Trophy Hunters or Dallas Safari Club. I went to work a trade show, and I was working the same time you were. I don't know if you remember this, but I was brand new to the company. I knew virtually nothing. I mean, I knew what I've been hunting my entire life, but dealing with these products specifically and knowing everything about them, the different reticles, the different features, nothing.
A little bit of a learning curve. Yes, it's not like you can just go jump in your backyard and magically know all this stuff about every type of AR,
you show up,
regular rifle. Yes,
we're working together at this trade show. You show up, and I'm like picking your brain to try and learn like anything I can the last second, because I know I got people who are about to come up and start asking me questions, right? That's the best way that I found to learn stuff really fast, by the way, is like put yourself in a scary ass situation so you got to learn it.
It's like you're drinking through a fire hose.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened to me. But what I noticed was something that just absolutely blew my mind. There were people who walked up to the booth and walked right by you without acknowledging your existence, and walked up to ask me, somebody that had been working for the company for like a day, questions about the products, and I'm just like, well, you walked by the most knowledgeable person. That's a stigma that comes with the outdoor industry, and just all too often, generally men tend to think that women don't know, as much as what a man might know who's standing right next to them. Is that something that you find quite a bit, or is that kind of starting to, because women have been emerging within the outdoor industry? I think we're the fastest
growing part of the outdoors.
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Absolutely, yeah. Have you experienced similar types of things in your career so far?
Starting out, I would say in the beginning more so than now, just because I've kind of established myself some. But there's definitely been times where I've been at trade shows. Like you said, they walk right by you. I go up to talk to them and help them, and they just kind of like blow me off. And then it's like I start spitting out the specs and, hunting this, hunting that, and they kind of like look at me like, okay.
No, it was funny for me because I was like,
right.
Here's a rifle scope. I don't know anything about it, but she does.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then that's pretty funny. Well, and then, you kind of go through the whole spiel of stuff, and I probably hunted, with thermals more than the people that I've talked to.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Right, yeah.
But they'll immediately turn around, when one of the other guys is free on the floor, they sit and they literally ask them all the same exact questions, and they give them the same exact answers.
Yeah.
And I just kind of look at them and I'm like, okay.
They're like
whatever,
double checking your information.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is fine. Like, so be it. Like, at some point, you got to pay your dues, and that's just part of going into an industry that's more dominated so than female. I think, male to female ratio, I guess, but again, it's the fastest growing section of the industry, and so being able to communicate and know who you're talking to makes just the whole situation more successful for you and the company and the consumer that wants to buy something.
Right. And once people talk to you, even for a brief amount of time, they feel your confidence in your speaking, and like your knowledge of the products comes out just in the confidence that you present with it.
Right. And I will say, a tip too, like if you don't know something, don't really just make it up.
Don't bullshit.
Like say, I don't know, because then that's going to, give that other person, well, okay, she's actually being truthful, or we'll figure it out. And that's just how I believe, life should be. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. In any avenue. So, what's the last hunt you went on?
Oh my gosh. It's been a little while.
What's the most memorable hunt you've been on recently?
Okay.
Let's
story
do it that
with
way.
My horse.
Huh?
Story with my horse.
The story with the horse.
Of course. Anything I can like shoot off my horse.
Let's hear it.
That's just
what you got.
The most exciting thing. I was at Hawks Double Mountain Ranch. This is
Whoa, wait. Hogzilla?
Hawks Double Mountain Ranch.
Hawks Double Mountain Ranch.
Yes.
I heard Hogzilla.
Hogzilla. Well, the thing that I shot was actually kind of a Hogzilla.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, what? Don't give it to me yet. Okay, go back. We're at the ranch.
So we were hog hunting off horseback, and I had shot one across a water tank with my rifle, and he kind of ran off. When you look back at the video footage, you could see him kind of like cringe, but they don't always go down as fast. He was probably maybe 75 yards across. Well, as soon as that happened, it was like popcorn. I mean, these hogs were everywhere.
Really?
And as we were sitting there, we sat there for maybe 20 minutes trying to get a good shot on the one that I actually ended up shooting. He was to my left. I could see his eye and his ear, but I didn't really have as good of a shot to where I felt comfortable taking that.
The whole time you're on Kodak.
Kodak, right. And
okay.
he's just standing there. And you really need to know, obviously, like what you're shooting past. And there's more to it than, I'm just going to shoot this hog because I see it. So after I shot the one across the tank, they all scattered, and we took up off this ravine, and Jamie, my gosh, he's like one of the best guides ever. We had so much fun, but he took off after one group. I took off after another group because the hog I had originally seen was a really, really big spotted black and white one.
Yeah.
And I could tell it was a boar by the sound, and it was huge. And so he goes off. I don't know where he went, and I'm sitting here looking around like, what just happened,
Yeah.
And I could have shot at some of the other small ones, but I'm like, I was on a mission. Like, once I get my mind set to something, it's like done.
Yeah.
And I'm scanning the horizon, and I see this hog, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there he is. And so I just get a beeline. I'm running straight to him. And it was really bizarre because Kodak like locked in on him.
Really?
He did not slow down. If anything, he sped up when he realized that that's what we were chasing.
Yeah.
So I had my rifle, slung across the saddle horn, and then I had a HK-45 pistol that I had used that I shot him, and I chased him down with the pistol. So now I have a full body hog mount in my living room right as you walk in the door.
Oh, sweet.
So that was a pretty cool felt like you're in a movie almost.
Yeah, very cool. So you got the whole thing mounted.
The whole thing. He was big.
Yeah.
He was a real big one. And I wrote a story about it. And that's the other thing I was going to tell you earlier is I actually do write articles for outdoor magazines. And I don't know, I just wrote a story on that, and Kodak
cool.
and I, and different
Very
things.
cool,
So,
yeah. So which magazines, do you know off the top of your hand, which ones you're in?
Just hog hunting magazines.
Hog hunter.
And I do different little, I don't know, what do you call them, blurbs or type stuff for different product reviews and whatnot.
Sure.
The last product review I did was for one called the Trophy Shot.
Oh, gotcha.
So just different stuff here and there.
Okay,
you know?
cool. All right, so you have just chased this pig down, shot him with your 45, right? Kodak like locked in on him.
Yes.
So then what happened?
Then I looked around and I was by myself in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, eventually Jamie and I found each other, and I had put my rifle down next to the hog. I had to drag him out of the brush. We were in some shinnery brush, so I could make sure I, located and knew where he was. And so I drug him up to this road, and then left my rifle there leaning against him, and went, to go find the guide. And he looked at me and he was like, "What happened?" Because we got separated.
Yeah.
And I tried to contain myself from my excitement, and I just busted out laughing. And he was like, "What happened to your rifle?" He was like, "Did you get a pig?" I was like, "Yeah, I did." And it was the one that I looked at.
Yeah.
And of course we were all excited whenever he rode over there. And so that was a pretty fun moment, just to be in such a beautiful place. It was in West Texas.
Yeah.
I love West Texas. I think West Texas is so pretty,
West
especially
Texas.
for hunting terrain.
Yeah, it's very underrated.
Yes.
It's very underrated.
Yes.
It's like a flat desert out there. A lot of people don't like that, but there's a lot of cool pigs out there. You said it was pretty big. Did you get it weighed by any chance?
We did, but honestly, I don't remember what it weighed. I mean,
Plus
it had
200 or more?
Oh,
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Easily. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anytime they hit the 200 mark or over, I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's huge.
Well, and he was really tall and really, long, too. So on the mount, I mean, it's a big mount, a very big mount.
I have, it's funny, I take out the Sitemark Wraith, and I get a lot of through device footage with it. And so when I go out on my place, I have a lot of pigs, and I'm focused on killing those pigs. But for marketing purposes, my main focus is to get good recording that we can use. And some of the recordings and stuff that you'll see on our social platforms, or maybe through advertisements, I've actually done some of those out at my place.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is this last time I went out, I'm recording with the Wraith through device. I have a pig at my deer feeder right now has a trampoline frame around it, and that frame is actually a pig trap. We put some cattle panel around it.
Oh, cool.
And it's got a guillotine sliding door.
Okay.
So I use that trampoline frame just to keep the cattle away from my deer feeder, because I've also got cows on the place. So I'll set the trap occasionally and catch pigs, but for the most part, I just use it to keep the cows away, so they don't knock over my feeder, because otherwise they're little assholes. They'll just stomp on it. They don't care.
Right.
I am out recording one night, and I scan over and I look down towards my feeder, and there's this giant object. I'm like, I don't know what the heck that is. So I get out of my side-by-side, and I start walking up to it because I don't want to spook it off. Well, the trampoline frame, you're looking at about 3 foot high off the ground to the top of the trampoline frame. It was a single hog all by himself. And I swear his back, I have video recording of this, his back is to the top of that trampoline frame.
Wow.
And I get 40 yards from this thing. And I'm just hyper focused on getting good footage, right? So I'm I video him for a solid 2 minutes. And my reticle is right on his shoulder. I had a perfect shot. I had a perfect ear hole shot. I was like, man, I have the perfect shot for a solid minute and a half. But I'm also getting good recording. So I'm recording this thing forever. And it turns, and it starts to walk away, and it's walking away from me kind of at a slight angle. And I'm just a dumbass. I was like, all right, now I'll take a shot. And so I try to position it on his shoulder that's, close to me, instead of just shooting through his body. I still tried to make an ethical shot. Well, I ended up pulling too far to the right when I shot, and I missed him, and I had to watch him run away.
Oh, no.
And so that was my failure of the week. Unfortunately, but he was definitely a 200 plus pig. I mean, you talk about a hog that the back of his back
enormous.
stands at about 3 foot tall. It's absolutely insane. Now, I've seen him a few other times. His days are numbered, Promise you, his days are numbered. I'm going to get him next time. I'm not going to
believe you.
care
I believe
about
you.
recording the stupid stuff. I'm just going to shoot him.
Doing your homework, you're just going to.
That's it. Yeah, Sitemark's going to have to take a back seat to killing that pig because he already got away from me once.
That's awesome.
I wanna
It's such a
change-
rush. I love hog hunting.
It's a lot of fun. I want to change gears real quick.
Yes.
You are involved in Stewards of the Wild.
Correct.
What is that?
So Stewards of the Wild is a young professionals program that helps to support the mission of Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Okay.
It really helps to get people engaged who either are not in the outdoors, who want to be in the outdoors, or connects people who are in the outdoors, to other people around the area that you may not know. So it's kind of a social type thing, but we also focus a lot on conservation,
Okay.
the land, the animals, current topics. We have a fishing program, I guess we do once a year with some children.
Okay.
Teach them how to fish. Even their parents, we've started
Really?
to teach
Yeah.
them how to fish because they haven't done that as well. And
Sure.
so that's really cool. We do educational stuff. We'll have biologists come out. We recently did a outfitter night where we had vendors and different outfitters from around the local area come
Okay.
in, and the public can visit with them, talk about what they have to offer. What else? There's so many different things that we do, and sometimes we do like women-focused events or clay shoots or just different stuff. But
So it's not just for children. It's for
Correct.
It's for anybody.
right, the age groups we kind of say is 18 to 45. So kind
Okay.
of that young professionals
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
group, age group that just a lot of them have younger kids. A
Right.
lot of them just I don't know. It's a really really awesome. I'm actually the co-chair for
Okay.
this year and next year, and have been on some hunts that we have actually mentored down on the coast. So I've mentored at the Powderhorn Ranch down around Port Lavaca, which is south. I don't know, maybe by Port Aransas, sort of speak, kind of
Sure.
on that side.
Yeah.
The first group I mentored a female. The second group I mentored a male. And it's just one of the most rewarding things when you get to your point in your hunting career, in a sense, or just hunting in general, where you can pass along your knowledge to somebody who's brand new. None
Sure.
of the mentees had actually hunted before.
Really?
And
Yeah.
so being able to bring and teach them about the rifle and how to stalk an animal
Yeah.
and how to process that animal. So we go from start to finish of, they need to learn the basics of things.
Yeah.
And then we sit and we help them quarter the animals and take it to their family.
Very
And
cool.
one of the most rewarding things I got out of that was being able to follow up with them afterwards and listen to the stories of them telling their children what they did.
Yeah.
It was just one of the coolest things
Yeah.
ever. So there's a lot of in the field stuff that we do, as well as, off the field
Yeah.
social event type stuff. So
That's very cool.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that, Sitemark really kind of prides himself on is trying to get, being proactive and trying to get more people involved in the outdoors industry and the hunting and just anything, just get outdoors and do things and be active.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that you've kind of taken this step into becoming a part of that. If somebody is just now hearing about Stewards of the Wild for the first time,
Yes.
what do they need to do if they're interested in, getting involved, or maybe, becoming
Well,
like
first of
looking
all-
to you to mentor them, or
Right. Well,
what can they do?
Feel free to message me on Instagram if you need to. I'll do what I can to help direct you in the right path. But I would just Google Stewards of the Wild Fort Worth. So they have chapters all across the state, Austin,
gotcha.
Midland. So wherever you live in Texas, there's a little bit closer area than probably Fort Worth if you're not from here and live here.
Sure.
So I would do that. I would go with your chapter first. But there's also a Stewards of the Wild Texas account that basically is, where everybody kind of like posts things, and you get more of the mainstream line news. You get as much of the localized chapter stuff unless you follow that chapter. So
Gotcha.
really, being all over the state, you can connect to so many different people.
Yeah.
I would say just don't hesitate to ask, and don't
Right.
hesitate to show up to stuff by yourself. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've gone by myself somewhere, because meeting one person can change your life forever.
Right.
You just never know. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid. And everybody's really nice anyways.
Oh,
Everybody
yeah.
loves the outdoors. And the other thing I can kind of piggyback with that is, if you don't have a place to go hunt, there's a lot of public land around here. Texas
Right.
has a very, very high number in public land.
Yes.
Get a camera, go take pictures of birds.
Right.
Go on walks, go on hikes, go fishing. Fishing is a really good entry to the outdoors because it's a little bit more easy to access.
Yep.
But then at the same time, you can get super specialized in the fish that you're looking
Yeah,
for.
absolutely.
Same thing with hunting. Hunting hogs is year round. So looking for species like that to be able to have flexibility with your schedule
Right.
definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it takes to just get outside and get involved in some aspect of that. Just
Right.
disconnect from your daily grind.
Yes.
Get your reset because it will benefit you endlessly. You talked about there's different chapters within Texas, or do they have chapters outside of Texas? Or are they in other
Not that
states?
I know of. I believe
Okay.
this is only a Texas thing. And
Okay.
I've actually had people message me that live outside of Texas and say how cool it is that we actually are doing something like that.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So.
Awesome. Well, just like you are mentoring people now through Stewards of the Wild, I know that you had a mentor as you were growing up.
Yes.
You've told me in the past about your grandfather and how much he meant to you, and he kind of shaped you.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your grandfather.
He's 96. He still goes hunting. I'm looking forward to actually hunting with him this weekend, opening weekend rifle season.
Very nice.
So I think of all the times I've ever been out there, I think I only remember him missing once.
Really?
One time,
Yeah.
and it was one shot drop. He cleans the animal before you get out there, makes everybody coffee in the morning before we get out to our stands.
Wow.
And so being able to provide the outdoor, entry to the land there.
Yeah.
My brother and my dad go, so I've learned a ton from either of them.
Right.
My brother does a lot of bow hunting stuff, so that's where I get the bow mentorship. My dad, I had shot my first deer with my dad, and I will never forget. It was super early in the morning. I had fallen asleep in the blind, and I wake up and this bird flew like right at my face and landed on the window, and I got a really weird thought thinking today was the day.
Yeah.
And so I shot my first deer, and it thought I missed him because when he fell in the shadow, like right between the shadow and super bright.
Yeah.
And you don't always know what to look for in the shade, I guess, differences. So
Yeah.
I was all sad, and my dad was like, "Well, go down there and look." I still didn't see him, and he goes, "Go a little farther," and I just freaked out. I flew and I ran and jumped in my dad's arms, and he was holding the rifle up over his head, all excited. And he said, "I'll clean your first one for you, but after that, you're on your own."
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I about puked the first time I saw my dad clean the deer. But after that, that's one of the parts too. Now I look and I'm so appreciative of, man, there's so much that goes into your body, basically.
Yeah.
So you learn so much in that aspect of it, and that's the full circle of the reward of, we shoot one deer a year pretty much,
Yep.
and take care of the rest, and that's your meat for the year. And
Yep. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I've been very thankful for those people, and being able to pass my knowledge to my friends and other family and stuff that haven't been able to do that has been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I got to tell my first deer hunting story.
Yes.
Now.
Let's hear it.
Well, my first deer that I killed, anyway. It wasn't my first hunt, but my first deer that I killed, my dad, I was about 7 or 8, and my dad's like, "All right, you know what? I'll take you hunting in the morning." So he gets his coffee ready, and I'm like excited. I get decked out in camo and everything like that, and he's like, "All right, let's go," and he opens up the back door. And we literally walk straight out my back door like 75 yards, and he puts out 2 lawn chairs, and I'm like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "We're hunting." And I was like, "We are." And he was like, "Yeah." And he grabs a tree branch that had fallen off of a tree and just pulls it over in front of us.
Oh my
And
God.
we're both sitting here, and he's got his bolt action 243. We're both sitting here waiting for, and I'm like eyes peeled looking, even though my house is like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I said 75 yards. We're probably 100 yards. I think we have to be 100 yards legally. We're whatever the legal distance is away from a
Well,
house.
that's
We were
a long
there.
time ago. Yeah,
We
I'm
were
sure
there.
you paid attention to those.
But we're sitting there, and we've got this dead branch in front of us, and he's literally just sitting here just like this, legs crossed, coffee up, steam's rolling in his face, just drinking, just drinking coffee.
Not being all incognito with full camo in the high
No,
trees.
no, I can't even remember what he was wearing, but I'm sure he wears the same thing every day. I'm sure it was blue jeans with a like plaid button-up
That's awesome.
shirt, right?
That's awesome.
And all of a sudden, I see, so just like I'm sitting here, you would be right where my dad is. We're sitting side by side.
Mm-hmm.
I see some deer walk out over here. And I'm like, "Oh, Dad, some deer." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, there is." And he starts looking through his binoculars. And I say, "Can I see the rifle so I can see?"
Oh no.
Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah." So he hands me the rifle, right? And he thinks I'm looking through the scope
You're just
to
looking.
see the deer.
Right, and you had a different mindset on that one.
I got a killer mindset,
Yeah.
and I am locked and I'm ready to go, right? And he underestimated how well I could operate that 243 because I'd already shot it several times. I knew where the safety was. I had to make sure the bolt was closed. I was golden. But I'm leaned across him, and at this point, it was about the time he got done with his binoculars and set them down. He decided that those weren't deer worth shooting. And so he's leaned back now, sipping his coffee. And I say, "Can I shoot?" But I whisper, "Can I shoot?"
Yeah.
he didn't hear that. And so his initial response was, sure. Well, I shoot, and I'm telling you, my barrel was right here.
Oh my God.
And he flips back, coffee all over him. The deer drops right where it was at.
Okay, that's good.
He's pissed. He's covered in coffee. He's cussing, yelling. And I'm just thrilled. I'm like, oh, I just shot my first deer.
Right.
You know? And so like I give him the rifle. I'm ecstatic. We run over there, and I thought it was a doe. It was a little yearling spike that just had some nubs. I'm like, great. Right. It's not. My dad's like, it's not even a legal deer. He's pissed. I'm like, this whole situation could have gone a little better. But that was my very first whitetail I ever killed. So it's been uphill from there. Yeah. Now we actually go hunting and not just step out the back door, and definitely don't shoot across each other and shoot illegal deer. So, yeah.
Okay. You know, and that's pretty funny thinking that your dad flipped all the way back and stole all the coffee. He probably was like
he didn't think
sensory overload of what just happened. So.
Yeah, I still think he doesn't think it's funny. I think it's hilarious. He doesn't think so.
Yikes. Oh my goodness.
Real quick, I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. One thing that I do want to talk about is you've done a lot of work with Sitemark, and you've grown a lot with the company, as the company has grown too.
Yes.
I want to just get your opinion on, the evolution of Sitemark and the products that they've produced. I'll be honest and just say that, Sitemark really got started kind of back in 2007. They started off with like red dot sights, and bore sights and rifle scopes, but it was really just kind of there's a hole in the market that we need to fill as like, that mid-range optic to get people out hunting. That was our biggest push. Is like we need to provide something that anybody can go get that and put on their gun, feel confident that it's going to operate well, just to get them involved in the lifestyle.
Right.
We were literally pushing out whatever we could get our hands on, and with that, we had a little bit of stumbles here and there. And since then, we've kind of developed our product line and really started being hyper focused on making sure that we're putting out the absolute best quality of products that we possibly can. Have you seen that kind of transformation with Sitemark and since you've started?
Even since I've started, yes, I have. I mean, the quality from then and now is definitely different, and I think that's just part of life. Like everything gets that way, but from my perspective, what I've used, I mean, I've shot 2,000 yards with one of the Pinnacles. Yeah. So, one of the cool things with Sitemark is they branch out into, tactical style stuff as well as hunting and competition. And there's multiple avenues for people to be able to choose a product for their liking based on where they kind of want to start out with. Right. But they're not just entry-level products. Right. So that's been really, really neat to see that.
Yeah, we're trying to offer something for everybody, whether you're a senior hunter or professional, shooter, you shoot competitions, to a tactical person, somebody who might be involved in law enforcement. We try to offer a full scale of products that are both most of the time backed up by lifetime warranties. A lot of people don't realize that, but we've wrapped that into a lot of our products because, hey, we're offering the same quality products as some of our competitors with the same warranties. So if you have that negative mindset about Sitemark, maybe give it a try. Give one of our products a try, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
I've been very successful, especially in the hunting aspect of it. I don't do quite as much competition, but I mean, I've not had any problems.
Well, I'll say on the hunting side of it, I personally, like I said earlier, I've been using the Wraith quite a bit.
Yeah, tell me about your stories.
Well, the Wraith, for me, the biggest thing with the Wraith, and I've got tons of stories on them, but because we use them for marketing purposes, I probably won't talk about very much of them. But the Wraith in itself, you talk about, first off, I'm a backwoods country kid who, like, I'm in Mansfield right now, but this is like as much city as I ever want to be in. I grew up, I start my lawnmower by jumping the solenoid. A lot of people don't understand that, but if you do, I'm redneck as hell. I grew up on granddad's optics, like traditional rifle scopes or even iron sights. So when I started working for Sitemark and I started dealing with digital optics, it's like a completely different game for me.
It is. It really is.
I was blown away by the capabilities of these units. And we talk about, like, you mentoring kids and parents being able to share, not just kids, but also young adults and adults, being able to share stories with their children.
Right.
Sitemark, and other companies like Sitemark, anybody who's dealing into, digital optics, the ability to record video and audio through these devices is absolutely invaluable. I mean, you talk about preserving moments for a lifetime.
Yes.
A child's first hunt, a parent's first hunt, being able to go back home and show them exactly what you did. Like, look at this 200-pound plus pig that was standing on the other side of the lake.
Right.
I'm on my horse and I shot him, and then I had to run him down and shoot him again.
I did. I actually was using the UltraShot M-Spec and a magnifier from Sitemark.
Oh, there you go.
On my 6.8 Razorback of all things.
There you go. Well, but like if you have, and like if you were using a Wraith or even any of the Pulsar products where you can record those things, it's like being able to have that option to record those and share those later. It makes it just even a little bit better, and things that can just last a lifetime. I mean, I have a 2-year-old son. He's about to be 3. I have a newborn daughter. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Your hands are going to be so full.
I know. I am really excited about being able to take them on their first hunting trip when they're ready. And I'm confident now that, not only am I going to get to take them hunting, but I'm going to get to record what they're hunting and have that forever.
Right. No, they'll look back and appreciate that.
That way, if they somehow screw their life up and at 15, 16 years old, they decide they hate dad and they don't like hunting and they don't like the rednecks or whatever, I'll still have the evidence. Like, hey, at one point in time you did it.
Oh my goodness. Well, and on the flip side too, with some of the products that they offer, like if you don't have thermals or you want to get into that game, this is a great avenue to start with, because they're great price point, they're great quality. Like you said, you can record, so there's a lot of good beneficial things to that. And when people ask me all the time, hey, I don't know if I want to spend a lot of money for a thermal yet, do you have any suggestions? And the Wraith is what I go to.
Well, and speaking of that, I have a lot of friends that reach out to me, being that I work here, and they say, hey, I'm looking into getting started at thermal, but I don't want to spend a ton of money. What unit should I get? And I don't even have that conversation with them. I say, honestly, what are you looking to spend? What's your max spend? Because if they tell me anything under 2,000, I say you don't need to be looking at thermal, period. Like, you need to be looking at digital night vision. It's your entry into, at minimum, it's your entry into night vision. Get you in at under $1,000. For $1,000, you can get a night vision rifle scope, a tripod system, and an upgraded IR light, and be better off than most people are at night.
Well, and realistically, the length you'll be shooting at night isn't going to be like 800 yards.
Right, exactly.
And so knowing where you're hunting or knowing, what that distance is going to be, I mean, that's great for that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You need to check out this new product called the Trophy Shot that I kind of talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because it basically helps to, when you shoot the deer, right, you stick his head in this holder from behind so you can't see it. Yeah. So you can actually be in the picture with your son or your daughter.
You don't have to hold stuff up.
Yeah. So especially when your kiddos start doing that, that'd be cool. That's one thing I wish I would have had, was a picture with my dad with my first deer.
Yeah.
But of course.
Yeah. Trophy shot?
The Trophy Shot, yes.
And it's basically just a stand.
The Trophy Shot. It goes behind the deer's neck, kind of up under the jaw there, and helps prop them up. And it comes back, directly from the side. And the way that it's set up is where you don't see it, which is kind of the idea of being able to have
that's cool.
A memory that will last a lifetime. So that's a pretty neat product.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for coming in. Before we head out, do you have any shout outs, or you want to give people your social handles or anything like that? I mean, how are people going to find you if they're not already following you, which shame on you if you're not. If they're not, how do they find you? Oh, my Instagram is just my name, Kaitlyn Lowes, Kaitlynlowes. Okay. So I have some interesting things coming up in the future, so you might want to follow along. Very nice. All right. Thank you so much for coming in.